salutations world, I am the Bearded Con-Ape and welcome to my full review for War for the Planet of the Apes. Now this movie review is going to be a little bit different than the ones in the past because we are going to be talking both non-spoilers and spoilers within this one video. Now just as a forewarning, I will give you a full general alarm and throw a bunch of text and all sorts of little things at you that say spoilers ahead before we go any further, so don't worry about that if you've not seen the movie yet. This entire first half will be completely spoiler free, and when I get into the spoiler side of things, I will let you know. War for the Planet of the Apes is the end of a trilogy that is considered both a reboot and a prequel. As strange as that sounds. It's a reimagining of the original source material of the Planet of the Apes franchise. A lot of ofs are used in these movies. But this trilogy is the end of Caesar's story, and Caesar is the leader of the apes portrayed by the incredible Andy Serkis. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. It was emotionally gripping. It's gonna get you in the feels. It is definitely the darkest of all three films. Very few glints of happiness in this movie, so keep that in mind if you are looking for sunshine, rainbows, and apes. This is not your movie. This movie does what not a lot of third films in a trilogy do. Be really good. This movie did a great job in not only being just a great Planet of the Apes movie, but it also did a great job closing the book successfully on the trilogy and ending it on a great note. Now I will say my personal favorite movie still is Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which is the second film, but this one, War for the Planet of the Apes, is right up there. I think the reason why I like Dawn a little bit more is because there's a lot more action, I feel like, and the third one is much more story driven with some action, if that makes sense. And that's not a bad thing. 2 set the bar really high as far as action goes, and 3 smartly tried to not top that. It went a completely different route and went for story, and I really appreciated that because it worked out so well. The story was fantastic. The visuals were incredibly mind-blowing. You're gonna just lose your mind when you see it in theaters. Andy Serkis, this time in his role of Caesar, he just continues to raise the bar with his character, folks. And if he does not get at least an Oscar nomination for his role, I'm going to be very pissed. I'm going on record right now. Andy Serkis, more than ever, it is a crime that he hasn't been nominated yet, but more than ever, he deserves an Oscar nomination for his role as Caesar in War for the Planet of the Apes. It's gonna blow you away, folks. It's a CGI ape, and it made this grown bearded ape cry. Lastly, on the non-spoiler side, I want to reiterate, this is a very dark film. It is very emotional, it is very sad, it is very violent. Do not take your kids to see this. I unfortunately witnessed 2 moronic apes bring their little chimp in with them, and they somehow thought that that was a great idea. The little ape couldn't have been more than 2 or 3 years old, and at many times I heard the baby crying or saying, "Why is the monkey dying?" So not a very good idea to bring the kids to this, folks. So don't be an idiot, leave the kids at home and leave it to the grown-up apes to see this film. Overall, I will give this film a solid 9 out of 10. It was a great, very well done film. I was very pleasantly surprised. It blew me away. Visually wise, story wise, it was just start to finish, no complaints whatsoever. It was fantastic. All right. We're getting into spoilers now. This entire second half is spoilers. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. If you have not seen this movie, turn the video off now, go see the film, and then come back to hear my spoiler side of this video. You have been warned. We're going in 3, 2, 1. Caesar's son, his little infant son, Cornelius, as we learn his name in this one, which shout out to the original character from the original Planet of the Apes, Cornelius, and you're seeing an image of him now. Whether or not little baby Cornelius, Caesar's son, is actually that Cornelius from the original Planet of the Apes or just a fun nod, we don't know, but I loved it nonetheless. Caesar goes on a warpath that will not end until the Colonel's blood is on his hands. And that's exactly what he goes off to do. He more or less abandons all of his ape brothers and sisters to go and kill the Colonel for what he had done to his family. And that's a very interesting place to put Caesar, because Caesar has been all about his family ever since the beginning, but he has always had a level head in decision making. But when you kill two of the three things that Caesar loves most in this world, what happens when that's taken from him? And that's what this movie answers. Along for the ride, luckily, is his ride or die crew of Maurice, Rocket, and Luca, which are the three apes, if you remember, from Rise of the Planet of the Apes, that have always been his close friends ever since they first escaped San Francisco in the first film. So they tell Caesar that they're going with him whether he likes it or not. Rocket to back him up, Luca to protect him, and Maurice to make sure that Caesar comes home. So those four decide that they are going to go after the Colonel and protect Caesar, whom they love more than anything. The humans are continuing to be affected by the simian flu virus. Those that were thought to be genetically immune are now actually slowly but surely starting to lose their speech and become almost primitive, which is a great way to tie in how the humans end up primitive in the original Planet of the Apes timeline. So while the apes get smarter, the humans get less and less. And that is the main motivation behind the Colonel. The Colonel is a madman. He leads a renegade army force that is actually not part of any other armed resistance throughout the world. He is insane. He is absolutely insane. Anyone that shows any signs of losing their speech, he immediately has them shot and killed because he's trying to save the human race. And unfortunately for Caesar, the plot continues to thicken when he catches up with the Colonel. Not only is he captured by the Colonel and his forces, but all of Caesar's apes were ambushed, beaten, and enslaved by the Colonel's forces at his fortress. And they are made to build this wall to protect the Colonel from all of the other humans that are coming to kill him. That's how far gone the humans are at this point. There's a split off, more or less, terrorist cell now that just wants to kill all the apes, kill all humans that are losing speech, and then kill any humans that come to stop him. And then you have all of these military forces coming to actually kill him and all of his followers. So it's kind of unofficial, but at the same time it is. If you were at all curious about the character of Malcolm from the last film, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, like I actually was, I was one of the people that really enjoyed his character and the relationship that he had with Caesar as being a friend. It turns out that in the original screenplay, the Colonel actually met with Malcolm, and Malcolm informed him of Caesar, how he's smart. He tried to reason with him and, do what he did in the prior film, stop there from being a war. And apparently, and this is something that the Colonel told Caesar in the screenplay, the Colonel, after hearing this, shot and killed Malcolm for what he said. And of course that sends Caesar into a tizzy and makes him even more crazy, because this guy has not only killed his wife and son, he killed his one and only human friend as well. And since it was cut from the screenplay, I'm going to choose to believe that Malcolm went off somewhere with his girlfriend and his son, and they lived out the rest of their days in peace, far away from all the fighting until their time came. It was good to have those little moments peppered in with Nova, as well as Steve Zahn's Bad Ape, which was the only little bit of comic relief in this very dark and emotional tale. Neither of them felt like a gimmick. They were there when they needed to be to lighten the mood just a little bit, so it wasn't completely pitch black start to finish, and I really did appreciate that. Also, Koba was back, and it wasn't in the way I expected. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I thought for sure that Koba was alive and he was going to be a threat working with the Colonel, since the Colonel had all of these apes that were loyal to Koba. Like, why the Colonel seemed so successful is because Koba was working at his side to take Caesar down. But it didn't end up that way, and we actually only saw Koba in Caesar's subconscious. And it was in his moments of doubt, you know, him realizing that he's no better than Koba because he's letting his personal hate and emotions cloud his judgment, and it harmed all the apes. It was very well handled, and it showed the inner turmoil that our beloved Caesar was going through during this difficult time and wanting to kill the colonel, and the repercussions it gave to his family as a result of his blind vengeance. I will say, I really wish that Caesar would have killed the colonel, but I'm glad that he didn't. I'm glad that he showed self-restraint enough to see the hubris in the colonel being ended by the very thing that he went on a rampage for in the beginning, losing his speech and becoming more and more primitive. So instead of shooting and killing the colonel and putting him out of his misery, he just hands him the gun and lets the colonel kill himself. It was just beautiful. And let's talk about that final act. So not only does it seem that that avalanche after Caesar struck that mighty blow and blew up the base, but he might have wiped out all the armed forces as a result with the avalanche that came in the explosion of the base. He might have wiped out all of the armed forces and really, in a way, removed the threat of the humans of the board for the apes. It was a very powerful moment because you realize there's, you know, hundreds upon thousands of soldiers all lined up ready to take down the colonel, and then this avalanche completely wipes them out. It's like, did humanity just throw all that they had left at the colonel and then just get wiped out by an avalanche? Oh man, it was such a powerful, just jaw-dropping moment. I couldn't believe it. And that leads us to the end of our tale, where Caesar finally leads his family to the promised land. And in a lot of ways, he is the ape Moses. He led his family to a place of peace and prosperity finally, and then he succumbed and died from his wounds happily, knowing that he finally got his family to safety. He knew that they had, as he said in the last film, home, family, future. All of that was accomplished by the end of the film. And then that touching speech that Maurice gives him when he knows that his best friend is dying. Oh man, what a way to end it. Telling him that Cornelius will know who his father is. Cornelius will know who Caesar is. It was so powerful and so well done. And it made me cry. I'm not gonna lie. I had tears at multiple points throughout this film. And they're CGI apes. That's the crazy thing about it. That's how emotionally well done this movie is. And I loved it so much. It was a great way to end Caesar's tale. It was very somber, but at the same time, you could see it as happy because Caesar finally succeeded in what he wanted. And that was peace and a future for his family, the apes. And who could ask for more than that, than literally dying, seeing your life goal finally accomplished, and that being the last thing you see before you die. I mean, that's got to be a pretty good feeling and a great exit for our simian hero. I guess that's truly the end of the Planet of the Apes trilogy. I don't know if there's going to be a fourth one, but it's definitely not going to follow Caesar, and I honestly don't know how I feel about that. I feel like that it should end here because I don't know if I could see a story being strong enough to continue beyond Caesar after being invested in him in these 3 movies and it literally being his story start to finish. So I think this was the true ending, and if that is the case, it was perfect. I was so happy in how it ended. It was amazing, and Andy Serkis knocked it out of the park. And I said it earlier in the video, I will say it again. He needs an Oscar nomination for his role as Caesar this time. Make it happen, Academy. Make it happen. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for my review of War for the Planet of the Apes. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, drop a like on this video and subscribe today. I am the Bearded Con-Ape. Thank you guys so much for watching, and remember, apes together strong!